Well, thank you so much for joining, Stephen, for taking the time to meet with us today.
Oh, no worries. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, welcome to another episode of Tales from the Rift. I'm Jen. I play the reporter August Potts on the scripted podcast series Porterville.
I'm John. I produce and write the show. I play Detective Jack Redshirt in season 2, the grizzled veteran. So we haven't done interviews for a while, but side note, I have been working on some stuff with some people, some big names. Hopefully we'll get the projects bought soon, but that's our excuse for not having an interview for a couple months here. So,
okay, well, it's been a while and we're back with a new guest in the bloody wake of Shark Week. So join us today, filmmaker Stephen Scarlata, whose documentary Sharksploitation hits Shudder today, right
awesome.
now. Yes. So Stephen, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Well, Stephen, can you define sharksploitation for us and tell us what your documentary is all about?
Like the term sharksploitation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, exploitation is a type of genre movie where, oh man, this sucks because the first one that comes to my mind is nunsploitation, where it was a bunch of movies centered around nuns. Oh, that's bad. And then what else? Exploitation movies are there? There's many types of exploitation movies out there. And what happened is after the success of Jaws, everyone started to create like aquatic creature movies and shark movies, and then that's what spawned into like sharksploitation, the genre starts happening. Like when one property gets big, then all of a sudden, when people start jumping on it and creating multiple products, it usually becomes like exploitation. And I can't think of other examples. There's so many
If I say
exploitation.
like a doll, like a Raggedy Ann
Yeah,
doll, I
like
assume
regular.
it's haunted.
Yes. Or here's another example. Mario Van Peebles, his dad, Melvin Van Peebles, made this movie in the 70s, this black independent movie that made a lot of money. So a lot of people started to make a lot of movies for black audiences. And then those movies became black exploitation.
Yeah, like Shaft and stuff.
Yes, exactly. That's probably one of the most well-known of like the exploitation genres. But those were just movies with, but anyway, there's quite a bit more like out there, like spaghetti westerns, like after The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, they started doing, the Italians started making a lot of westerns, and they started exploiting. Yeah, it's like a genre. Yeah, it's like when something comes out and it's big, all of a sudden there's like a wake of
Yeah.
sometimes lesser movies.
So does it seem like it has sort of like a negative or a positive connotation to it to you?
Well, yeah, it's definitely, it feels like sharksploitation definitely seems negative because when I was making the movie, it was I kind of hid the name of the movie from a lot of the people because I didn't want them to see, because I didn't want them to judge what I was making, because in reality, I knew what I was making. I wanted to show all the sides of it, you know, and it's such a, I always heard the term shark exploitation, but when I started making the movie itself and putting it on the release form, I was like, wow, man, that word does look kind of ugly now, especially when you're just so deep in a movie like this, and you want to show every aspect of it, the fun and the ugly of it. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I mean, when you're a kid and you're learning about these movies, it's fun, but as you get older and you start, I guess as I got older and started making this movie and I'm looking at the term, I'm like, oh yeah, now it really does fit the thing of it. Yeah, and especially when I first started shooting it, I was shooting interviews with filmmakers, and the more and more I look at the word, and that was the more and more I was realizing how much more I need to touch on the actual, how much it really did mean. It's not only that it was a shark exploitation for them taking advantage of Jaws' success, but it was also what they were doing to the sharks themselves started becoming more apparent.
That was shocking to me. Like we screened your film last night, and I'm like, I don't want to spoil too much stuff for people, but some of the way they're treating those animals was like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to think there, you know?
And it's conflicting because, I like my generation grew up with this fear of sharks because of Jaws. And it's this classic movie that people just love. But at the same time, am I bad for loving it? So it's just kind of like this conflict now.
Yeah, I want to remark on that too. Like, I'm extremely afraid of sharks because of that movie. Like no joke. So we went to San Diego. We were talking to your PR lady before.
I'm not going to start killing the sharks though.
No, but okay. So I grew up in the 80s, right? And my parents were like, "Oh, you like sharks? You like to research them and read about them? You should watch Jaws." And I'm like in grade school, like first or second grade, I saw Jaws, and I've been scared of the ocean. We were just in San Diego on Carlsbad Beach. And 3 days prior, which this doesn't help my fear, there was a great white shark sighting, right? So we're there trying to swim in the ocean. And my fear was just like amplified because there's like helicopters flying by. There's like the boats going by, just making sure there's no sharks. And at first we're like, why does the helicopter keep flying by? Is that like a news helicopter? And then we Googled, she's like, oh, there's a great white shark out here like a couple of days ago. And I'm like, this is as far as I'm going out. My knees are touching the water. That's it,
Well, I mean, dude, that's good to have that type of respect. My wife and I went on our honeymoon. It was like a decade ago. No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was maybe 10 years ago. We went to Hawaii, and it was like the first time I was in the ocean in years, and I'd be in the ocean for a few minutes, and like, I'm good, and I'd step out. There's only so much I can take of it because I'm scared. I'm scared of sharks. And then I learned, like, I think a couple of years later, looking back at that summer, it was like the summer of the most shark attack or slash encounters Hawaii had. So maybe it was like a good thing that I wouldn't stay in the water for as long. But it's like, it's like I don't. I have respect for sharks. I understand it's their home. And, if you're going into the ocean, you respected it. And that's the way you have to be. There's this crazy YouTube video of this dude jumping off of a dock. And then when he's in the water, a shark was around there and he had to like hide behind poles and make himself.
I saw that. Yeah.
Dude, that was like riveting. You just have to be careful. It's just like when you go camping, bears, you just have to be careful and respect it. I just hate the way the media portrays it.
Yeah, and I wonder, like, if not for like the way the media portrayed all these films like Jaws or like Great White, that poster behind you, would I
Yes.
be so afraid? Because we went to Costa Rica several years ago, and down from us was this island, and it's like one of the most heavy hotspots for shark activity. But we went snorkeling on this party boat a little ways away, but you're down there and the water's beautiful, but at a certain distance you can't see anymore. So I kept like looking in my periffs, like what's gonna come out of the shadows at me,
And you're helpless. What are you gonna do? Splash, make it worse, you're helpless to these big creatures. You have no control over what they're gonna do. They're in charge,
Yeah.
and it's not like a super common cause of death by shark. Like mosquitoes would be the big one, but you still have that, like, just because it's been exploited as much as you've said, now we've this heightened sense or like this heightened fear that doesn't necessarily correlate to real life. Like you can swim around and odds are you'll be fine. But at the same time, don't tamper with it. Like don't poke the bear. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and then back to the Carlsbad Beach story. So there was also some dude was like wakeboarding, or what do you call it, like when he had the paddle boat thing?
Yeah.
He went out on a paddle boat past the waves, and I knew at this point there's the great white shark thing going on. And then after a while, I look back and his board's just floating there, and I'm like, this guy hasn't come up for a long time. What's going on? And we were watching, and the dude must have like swam to shore and left his paddleboard out anchored, which was really bizarre. I've never seen that happen, but I'm like, I think this dude got eaten by the shark. I'm not going back in there for a while.
He came back. He was fine.
The paranoia, I know it's I'm paranoid too.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So should we feel that conflict when we're watching Sharksploitation, where it's like we should have compassion for these large creatures, but then understand that we're terrified because of all of these movies that we've seen.
It's just, I think you should just enjoy it for what it is. I think in the documentary we have the director of The Reef, who made this terrifying movie, absolutely terrifying movie about these people, based on a true story about these people whose boat is sinking and they decide to jump in the water and swim. And it's all from their POV in the ocean looking around, and then a shark starts circling them. And what he says, he's a surfer, he's in the water every day, and he just respects them. But at the same time, too, you're also making entertainment, and it's just about the viewer, just yeah, just take it for what it is. But it's also, I don't even know if it's as much as the movies, but I think it's worse with the way the media portrays it. And on when you go through YouTube and you see those little thumbnails of shark attack, and they have this exaggerated shark about to eat a swimmer, and they want you to click on it. The way the news is constantly, it's attack and it's attack and it's awful. But I think entertainment is entertainment, and I think Jaws comes out, it was an accident. Like, Spielberg made too good of a movie. The famous story, the shark didn't work. And what happened was Steven Spielberg stuck there with his writer, and they're able to craft such strong characters and such a riveting movie because they had extra time. They made too good of a movie that messed with people. And he didn't want that to happen. Peter Benchley didn't want that to happen. It's just, it just messed with people's minds. It Jaws forever. That's why I don't go in the ocean, is because of Jaws. That's what messed me up. And that was another reason why I wanted to explore it and talk about I can't say, I had dyslexia, so I can't say that word that we touch on. Thalassophobia, the fear of the ocean, and stuff like that.
Well, we don't know what's in there. We've
Exactly.
explored like what, 10% of it? We don't know. It's terrifying.
But I
We
think
can go to space, we can't go to the ocean.
yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing. I'm terrified of space horror movies because you have nowhere else to go. But that's the cool thing I think about the asylum movies today, is just that they made sharks silly. And I think sharks, but we do have like the 47 meters down, which is a great movie, in The Shallows. But I do like now that they're much more silly, I think, now in pop culture, thanks to the asylum, Mega Shark and Sharktopus.
Sharknado.
Sharknado, that's the one. Sharktopus is Roger Corman.
So you mentioned The Reef. You had a special guest on from The Reef. What other special guests was it really great working with on set, or have any experiences with on set?
Well, wow, there was it was cool to hang out with Joe Dante, the director of Piranha, because I'm a huge fan of his. I mean, the guy made Gremlins, and he was very charming and nice to us. And the first thing he asked when I went there and we had our equipment, he's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What is this?" He just didn't understand what we were doing. It was really funny. He was really cool. It was cool to do Roger Corman because that was the first paycheck I ever made, was on a Roger Corman movie. So it was really nice to have him in the movie. There was Wendy Benchley was amazing. We went to New York to get her. We're in LA. We traveled to New York and we got her, and she was incredible. And we got the director of Open Water that same trip. It's just, and then Mario Van Peebles was incredible. He was so nice and friendly to us. He was awesome. There was a lot of people. We were very humbled to have a lot of these people agree to be in our film. It was very difficult trying to get people to talk because they don't know what you're doing. They don't, because, and then when like I said, I was in the emails, I kept the title away from them, and it wasn't, it was sneaky, but I just didn't want to, I wanted, as long as they saw my original documentary I did called Jodorowsky's Dune, that's what I was just trying to tell them. Is like, I respect artists and I respect cinema. I'm not looking to exploit anything. I just want to tell a story. And I was very thankful they trusted me. And the other cool thing was we got those marine biologists. They were great to interview and they were great to hang out with. Really cool. Really cool.
You want, it's like a delicate balance because you want that unbiased, what is your experience, opinion, without them sort of having an idea of, well, are you going to use this in a good way or a bad way? you know, like, what are you doing with it? But it's like a balance of where you want to reassure them, it's fine, just tell me what you really feel. You know,
Oh
it's
yeah.
difficult to do.
Well, no, especially these poor marine biologists when I'm not asking them about megalodon, you know, they're like, really?
Like, are
Yeah,
you
no,
gonna
but
make us look weird? What are you doing? Yeah. Should I tell
yeah,
you how I really feel or not?
but they were nice. They answered and they were honest and they were great. They were really cool.
Did you ask how believable the Meg 2 trailer is?
Oh, this was way before that, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah, this was I think we stopped shooting last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was no Meg 2 yet out or a cocaine shark. So those are things definitely couldn't bring up, unfortunately. This new genre that I'm starting to realize it went from like serious movies in the 80s and 70s. And then you got the silly stuff in the 2000s, I mean the 2010s. And now it's let's feed drugs to animals. That's the new thing. Meth Gator and the raccoon
Yeah.
like crack movie it's coming out.
Yeah,
soon.
Raccoon.
Yeah, I want to
Yeah,
see it
yeah.
though. I'm interested. You
I'm gonna
know,
watch them all. Yeah.
I'm always like, that looks dumb. Let's watch
I'm
that.
gonna see it. Yeah.
Oh,
It's fine.
who would have thought?
Well,
I want to make the one where the animal eats a lot of weed and it's just doesn't want to do anything. It's like I'm not gonna attack.
I saw the Cocaine Bear movie. I was entertained.
That was
I was
fun.
pretty entertained. Yeah.
I loved it.
I
Wish the
laughed. I probably shouldn't
yeah.
have laughed, but I did. So
Wish the trailer didn't give away too much. That's the one thing that bummed me out.
yeah.
Yeah. But it was like Ray Liotta's last movie, so you got to see it regardless
Yeah.
of whatever it was, anyway. So,
Oh, absolutely.
Legend.
He's
Yeah.
legend for sure.
well, I think we got one last question. We know we got places to be. What do you think drives the public's fascination with shark films?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I don't really, it's like for myself, I think our generation, what I learned, it's Jaws. But what's interesting, like when I interviewed, like in our film, we have like Misty Talley in there, and we have the incredible Emily Zarka. I think it was like Jurassic Park is what like inspired a lot of the newer people. Newer people, what am I saying? Like that generation is inspired by Jurassic. Like my generation is Jaws, then is the Jurassic Park generation, but then they got into this genre as well. I don't know. And then you know what? And then I'm talking to like one of my friends who has kids, and Sharknado got them into sharks. Like hardcore got them into sharks, and they love shark movies now, and that's all they want to watch because of the sci-fi movies because they're on TV all the time.
Yeah.
It's like I grew up with Godzilla, and there's the other this new gen. I gotta stop my old self talking. You know, the sci-fi channel generation grew up with sci-fi channels like how I grew up with Godzilla. And it's cool that, you know, a silly movie like Sharknado got all these kids into sharks. I love that. I think that's really cool.
Well, you know, to be fair, our son, he's 6 and he's never seen any of these shark movies, but is obsessed with sharks. And so he doesn't have all of that sharksploitation background, just like innate. This is like a beast, like a dinosaur, because he loves dinosaurs, you know, and monsters, and just that creative, sort of imaginative, like what is it? And so he just sees all these teeth, you know, and he's just like fascinated by this shark. And that's without seeing any of the movies. So unless there's some liminal things out there, but
Maybe I passed down my fear.
Oh, it's your fault.
Genetically.
It's just in here. It's a genetic memory.
Well, I guess
Be very afraid.
well, the kids like Finding Nemo, the shark in that, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's the animated movies. Maybe that's where it's coming from.
He first discovered it because of the megalodon and mosasaurus, because he went down a rabbit hole of dinosaurs. And
oh, that's cool.
That's just like it's similar to a dinosaur in his mind, where it's like that fascination. But then somehow as an adult, you're still like, you have that fascination, but it's real. There's actual sharks, you know. So
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. He's gonna have a lot to watch when he gets older. So
yes, he
Over
wants to watch it,
200.
and we're like, no.
My parents made the mistake of letting me see Jaws, like I mentioned, and I was in like first or second grade.
No, it's too young. No.
Yeah, I mean that's like 7 or 8 years old, man. Shouldn't be
Well,
seeing that.
yeah, I think I have I grew up in this, I was born in the 70s, so my family, yeah, I saw that in the theaters before, I think, kindergarten.
Oh,
Yeah, and then
wow.
yeah, then when I
Did
was
you
in
see the
elementary,
trailer though? You mentioned it in your film that maybe it was like this is the first time there's been trailers, so maybe people didn't know like what to expect entirely.
I think just parents in the 70s were just way different in the 80s because they were just, there wasn't a lot of Disney, there wasn't a lot to
Yeah.
choose from. So, and then my dad got to the point where before it came on HBO, Jaws would just be re-released in theaters. That's what they would do with certain movies. And my dad would just come home from work and grab me, and we just go see it and pick it up from wherever it's playing.
Well, it was different before the PG-13 rating was born.
Yeah, I was just gonna mention that the
Yes.
ratings were way different. Because I mean, even
Mhm.
Gremlins was the reason they changed it to R, right?
It was a little too much for
PG-13 to R.
PG, yeah. No,
I saw
Mhm.
that when I was young too. They were
No,
like killing people in
no,
that movie, dude.
PG.
That was
I
PG,
know
yeah.
Indiana Jones was all PG, and there's like people melting and stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that messed me up. Yeah, I think you're right. It was Gremlins and Temple of Doom was this 1-2 punch that started the PG-13 rating because I went to see Gremlins in the theater, and I will never forget. I didn't expect it to be that scary, and there were parents nonstop bringing their kids out of the theater, leaving that screening. Like I remember, like it was yesterday. That was crazy. It's such a so good. Joe Dante, bring him back.
Yeah.
Love
So Dante also Piranha,
Yeah.
Yep, Joe Dante, Piranha, Gremlins.
and we can also see Joe Dante in your film.
Yes, and he talks about the Jaws sequel he was supposed to make that never came out. So, which was cool.
Yeah, it's a really interesting documentary. We enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah,
Oh,
there was
thank you.
way more information than I thought there ever was. So you really
Cool.
put together a lot. It's just incredible how much research and time went into this, and how many people went into this. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, there was a lot of people we interviewed, like over 30. I have on my wall cork boards. Now it's like the new project is starting to appear, but I had the history of shark movies on one cork board, and I had all the genres and all the subjects on the other, and I bought different color yarn, and I had like an FBI profile all going.
Yes.
This whole entire wall was filled with
Like a police crime board.
Yes. Yes.
Is it hard to take that down? Do you take a picture of it first?
I should have. I'm bummed I had to eventually because then my wife, then she was the one who like eventually saw. She's like, dude, this is now you're going, and that happens in all those FBI movies. When you feel like you're going the next level crazy.
It's always funny to see the crime boards in those movies though, because like we'll watch like true crime on Netflix, and most of the time they have like no way to catch these criminals. I'm like, where are they finding all these clues in the movies? You know what I mean? Like the last one we saw was like
they're just turning themselves in.
This dude killed like 20 people and he just turned himself in, and that's how they caught him. I'm like, there's no way he would have been caught.
In real life, it's not that easy. Yeah.
But I digress.
Yeah. Anyway,
that's all good. Hilarious. But yeah, but thank
so
you.
Yeah,
so
do you
much.
have any upcoming projects or anything that you wanted to share?
Oh yeah, just I have a podcast called Best Movies Never Made that my producer of Sharksploitation I do with. His name is Josh Miller. He wrote the Sonic the Hedgehog movies. We talk about movies that were never made. That we just started that back up. I'm producing a documentary about movie novelizations. The cinematographer of my movie, Jim Coons, he's directing it, and it's about movie novelizations, like how the movie comes out and then you turn the movie into a book versus the book comes out and you turn it into a movie. It's about these authors that have to turn 90-page screenplays into 300-page books, and how it's kind of known as trash literature, but it's still an art form that a lot of people like myself love, because you'll find missing scenes and all kinds of crazy stuff in these books.
Oh, that's cool.
And yeah, and just give a shout out to my other producer, Carrie Dignam Roy. I hope to work with her again on another doc. She huge help with this movie, huge help. She produced a lot of great documentaries, like the Psycho Shower documentary, a whole documentary that just focuses on the Psycho Shower scene. So, but yeah, my podcast, and hopefully, whenever I finish this another beast of a documentary about movie novelization. So those are my two things at the moment. And my new cork board is starting a new one. I can't really talk about that one yet.
Well,
I
make sure
haven't
to
put the
take a
yarn.
picture of it before you tear it down this time.
Yeah, this time I have to. I should have done that.